So, a very warm welcome to all you wonderful viewers of Universal Mentors Association. My name is Sandeep Gulati, and I'm the founder of the organization. Universal Mentors Association has been an epitome of education media, where we are bringing to you live every week few really good educators across the spectrum, whether it is K-12 or higher ed, and talking about really important issues, covering one every week. And this is the 11th episode, powered by Brainwonders. Brainwonders have been a thorough supporter of Universal Mentors Association for their projects that we are bringing live to you. So we are live on LinkedIn, Facebook, as well as YouTube. So any comments that you have for today, you can definitely put it down there, and we would make sure that our wonderful speakers would take your questions and answer you live on the social media channels. So without further ado, today's topic is a really interesting topic, a very important topic to be discussed, where we are talking about the role of artificial intelligence and the changing learning dynamics. The higher education challenge is the topic today. And I don't think that there would have been a better moderator than the gentleman that I'm introducing to you, Dr. Indrajit Bhattacharya ji, who's the director of NABET, who's the Quality Council of India, coming in from the keeping a bird's eye view on the quality of of the students. It's really important that we have a speaker moderating this session through that. Mr. Manish Naidu, founder Brainwonders, he'll be joining us soon. Dr. B. Sendil Kumar, Dean and Director of Vinayaka Missions Research Foundation, deemed to be university. He'll also be joining us very soon. We have with us Dr. Vikas Dhawan, who's the Pro Vice Chancellor Academics, SGT University. We have with us Dr. Hari Krishnan Maram, sir, who's the chairman and founder, CEO of Imperial College, a really nice institution down south. We welcome you, sir. It's always a pleasure to have you, right from our Global Gurus days, to joining us for our events, and hopefully we would see you on the 8th of July as well.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Ranjan Paul, sir, Director, Institute of Management Studies. We welcome you, sir. It's a really humbling experience to have you on board. Dr. Kakoli Ben, who's the professor, author, and researcher. Ma'am, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for this amazing talk. And last, definitely not the least, Dr. Bhanu Pratap Singh ji, who's the Vice Chancellor of Maharishi University of Information Technology. We welcome the esteemed panelists on this amazing platform, and we are really keen on learning about the challenges especially faced by the higher education towards the learning of artificial intelligence. So without further ado, I don't think, as an organizer, I'm needed here any longer. I would leave this panel in the good hands of Dr. Indrajit Bhattacharya ji. So it's your session. Please take it away and have a good discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Gulati, and thank you for inviting me for this 11th TalkEd series. I'm very happy to moderate this session on role of AI and the changing learning dynamics of the higher education challenge. First of all, let me introduce myself. I come from Quality Council of India, which is under the Ministry of Commerce, and I come from the board of National Accreditation Board for Education and Training. So Quality Council of India has been constituted with the mission of improving quality in all aspects of life. And we are a board which is addressing the Education and Training Board. So as Mr. Gulati explained, that our board is in the space of accreditation. And because of this pandemic that we all underwent, we went from the campus mode to the online mode and launched a scheme of learning service provider. That means accreditation of learning service providers delivering on phygital mode, which is on a digital over physical, which is called as phygital. It's another name of it is hybrid or blended learning approach. So we launched this scheme during the pandemic, which is based on these two ISO standards, which is 21001 EOMS, Education Organization Management Systems, and 29993, which is ISO on Learning Service Provider. So anybody who is doing all the higher education institutes which have launched the EdTech tools over the campus platform can apply through this, can take benefit of this accreditation space. So over and above, we were trying to say that AI has made changing learning dynamics, and we are planning to introduce a scheme of maturity assessment model of EdTech tools, which is on a space of a maturity model. This has 5 dimensions, which is intelligent tutoring system, education management information systems, research-based learning, degree of automation, and trust. These 5 elements this is involving. And the intelligent tutoring system, as you all know, works on adaptive learning, which is personalized learning with this important dimension of artificial intelligence behind it. And then we have the other elements as the education management information system or the campus management information system, which looks at the administrative side of delivery. Then we have the research-based learning. As you all know, the new education policy has emphasized a lot on the research-based learning dimension. Then we have the degree of automation, which goes on from level 1 up to level 5, which similar to the driverless car, where one can go from point 1 as just partial automation, conditional automation, to full automation. And last but not the least is trust, which has dimensions of IT security, privacy, transparency, and elements like that. So if we have an emphasis of all this over 100%, we had about 30% emphasis on research-based learning, 20 each on intelligent tutoring system and education management information system, and 15 on degree of automation and trust. This was the reflection which was given out of a survey which was done across the higher education systems. And now we are building the detailed rubrics to assess the higher education institutions. So this was quickly from my side. Now I would like to have the bites of my panelists. First, I would like to invite Dr. Vikas Dhawan, Pro Vice Chancellor, Academics, SGT University, to share his perspective. Over to Dr. Vikas.
So you have to unmute yourself.
I think Dr. Vikas is on mute.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So very good afternoon at the onset to all the esteemed panel and the viewers. Probably the topic that has been selected for today's discussion is quite relevant from today's scenario. As Dr. Bhattacharya ji was telling something of offline and online hybrid systems. And I've been speaking of this since last 5 years prior to COVID, because hybrid system is the way to go. I normally speak that, calling in students for teaching subjects like history to the classes and giving them BA history or something like that is a wastage of time, because you telling him that Akbar was son of Humayun and Humayun was son of Babur, it doesn't make any sense for him to come to the class and learn this. So this is all about hybrid universities, because it has to be, attendance free, and whenever the student likes to come into the class, then only he should be, allowed to come, or he should be given that free option when he wants to come or when he doesn't want to come. Probably if he feels that if the lecture concerned is of relevance to him, he should be coming into the university or into the college, whatever he's studying. One aspect is this. Second, the role of AI is, increasing in a way that all the analytics part that you do, if suppose you take in MS Teams, the licensed version, that moment the child enters the class, the moment the child leaves the class, how much duration the faculty was taking the class, what was the amount of attendance, what was the growth, what was the pattern over the period, maybe 1 month, maybe 2 months. You can evaluate, do any sort of analytics at the back end, and you can find out as a faculty member also how relevant your lecture was to the students, and how many times they entered or left the class, or they were feeling as if the lecture is important to them. Proctoring, we all know that it was done during COVID time using the AI tools, and students were giving open book exams and they were caught using the proctoring tools. So one aspect is this. Second part is the selection of courses to the students. Your study pattern can be analyzed using the AI tools. The amount of interest the child has shown into a particular subject since his childhood can be analyzed. The analytics part can be done if used properly, and he can be helped out to select subjects in higher education. Because gone are the days when your father used to say, you become an engineer, you had to become an engineer. There was no choice left to you. But now, the interest of the child has to be taken care of so that he becomes successful in his life. And probably the AI tools can help the parents also to, define the career of a child in a higher education, what subjects he should take. Even if it is a particular program, say it is a BTech computer science, or he is doing maybe bachelor's of commerce, or maybe he is into uh, doing managerial courses. The AI tools can be used to select a pattern of the subjects in which he should select the subjects in order to do the course successfully and fruitfully, seeing his area of interest, because there are specialization, sub-specialization in every subject. So now the tools are being developed to, just to make sure that you actually do the complete analysis of the child's personality, and see to what it is doing. Yesterday, I was with one of the very esteemed scholars, and we were talking about a lady doing a PhD in psychology of students who play the games. You know, Psychologically, when a student is playing a game, you can just analyze what kind of behavior aspect he has, whether he is violent, whether he is patient, or whether he is, having other emotional skills, or whether he is uh, quite a serious person. So, such is the aspect, such is the scenario, and this is the extent to which you can go. And one of my team members, we actually try to develop certain softwares also. Normally, in every panel, I see that they talk about slow learners, fast learners. But as such, if you talk about, there is no perfect methodology for selecting the slow learner or a fast learner. Your five questions cannot decide my knowledge, or my five questions cannot decide the knowledge of a child. How can I say that he is a poor learner or he is a slow learner if he doesn't get good marks? We all know about Newton and Einstein; they were not very good at getting marks. But at the end, their laws are still troubling the scientists all across the globe. So how can you define a child as a slow learner or fast learner? We are trying to develop one software using the AI tools, whereby we will have a good question bank of maybe from class first to onwards to a PhD level, to a scholar level, to a scientist level. And let me give you an example of that. That simple question will open to the entire 60 students, and probably out of 60, 40 may answer it correctly, and maybe 20 may not answer it correctly. So what will happen? The students who don't answer it correctly, the second question will be a simpler one, and for the students who will be answering correctly, the second question will be a other difficulty level, more difficulty level. So in that way, we'll keep on increasing the difficulty level, and we will keep on decreasing the difficulty level for students who are not able to answer, and for students who are able to answer, the difficulty level will keep on increasing. So by that way, you can check the knowledge of a child. Even he may be knowing more than the curriculum that is being taught in the class. He may be an extraordinary child. He may be in first year, but he may be having a knowledge of the second year also. So that way, a faculty can grade the child, and probably I think that will be a better way to screen a child at the entry level itself. So we are using AI to a good extent in analytics, because data analytics uses so many AI tools, and I think in higher education, we as professors and administrators, we need to do good analytics and good analysis of what is the scenario, what the child is, because every child has a unique personality. I personally believe that you cannot, have a same design of learning for all the 60 students or 80 students that are there in the class. And even if you talk about new education policy, the first line it says is that holistic education has to be given. So in a holistic education, you're not going to kill the innovation of a child, because if you kill the innovation of a child, you are enforcing yourself upon him. That is not a student-centric education, and probably the new education policy stresses upon the student-centric education, which is the way to go if the nation wants to become a global leader. So these are the few things that I want to say, and probably when as we go on, I will share a few more ideas that I have, keeping in view the time, so that other speakers also are able to contribute their ideas.
Thank you, Dr. Dhawan, for sharing your invaluable experience on intelligent tutoring system, student-centric as well as inclusive learning, which is supported by NEP. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Hari Krishna Maran, who is the chairman and founder CEO of Imperial College. Over to Dr. Hari Krishna.
Yeah, digital greetings to each one of you. It is wonderful to be a part of esteemed panel to talk on AI, which we do practice in one of our other ventures that is called Vision Digital India. We use very extensive AI platform to train students across India as well as in the neighboring countries. I think here I would like to just share a few points which just 2 days back the NASCOM and E&Y together along with the Microsoft EXL published a wonderful outcome, kind of a research on AI. So as per that research, India is the world's second largest hub in training and hiring the AI professionals. And as per the NASCOM report, India is going to be a half trillion market for AI investments by 2025. I think most of us, we heard our Honorable Prime Minister speech just 3 days back talking about the digital economy of India with the 1 trillion by 2025. I think AI is going to contribute half of that investment in the area of AI. And today, I think every organization, not only the education or IT sector, today the banking sector, the healthcare is mainly depending on AI. Recently, I was in Dubai on invitation from the government of Dubai to implement a massive project on AI. So they're given a demo where one of the Indian startup developed a solution where I think most of us will be seeing the vehicles which are using to deliver the food and grocery, medicines, all that, like Swiggy, Zomato kind of a things. So the box of that vehicle, the backside box, you can promote products, you can promote services, you can give advertisements using the digital technology. So there is a LED which is fixed onto that. So the LED, wherever it goes, depending on the area, the advertisement will change. And it also captures the total eyeballs, like how many people are watching and how many seconds they are watching each ad. So that is a kind of a technology today available across the world. So thanks to artificial intelligence, how it is we are going to leverage. In the same way, when I was listening to Dr. Vikas Dhawan, so how even in the education, how we can able to implement AI in the examination system, even to develop the content and curriculum. Because today, when we are talking about a national educational policy, the new framework, I think definitely AI is going to be a game changer to implement this national education policy. So now I think I keep seeing a lot of schools they are also started, delivering the AI syllabus, and some of the governments already signed with MOUs with IBM and other some of the leading companies to develop curriculum which is based on AI. So in the primary level itself, a lot of schools now they are focusing on the AI platform. I think the world slowly is moving towards the STEM education. I think the preference towards STEM education is gone up when we see this particular academic year, the admission scenario, which is published by All India Council of Technical Education. Today, in engineering colleges, the most of engineering seats are filled in the area of computer science than other branches of engineering. So this is how the dependency of technology everywhere is growing up, and even during this pandemic, in the last 2 years, the way every organization is depending on using the technology, using especially the AI, is increasing day by day. We at Vision Digital India mainly focus giving AI training to students, largely collaborating with the universities and colleges across India. We trained almost 15,000 students till now in the last 2.5 years. So now we completely moved into online last 2 years. So we see a lot of demand even in the job market. Every company today, if you look at the hiring model of all the leading Fortune 500 companies, especially when I talk about the IT companies, the AI component is very high. 60% of jobs are related to AI. So I think even our institutions should able to adopt this model and able to launch some programs related to AI that will definitely be beneficial to large number of students. So these are my views on artificial intelligence, how we can able to utilize in the education sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Maram. As you rightly pointed out, that education is moving on to learner-centric as well as research, and more of immersive learning is happening. And I was in the understanding that CBSC has launched the AI in K-12 curriculum from 9th onwards. But you are saying that it has gone in the primary sector. That is news to me, because in China it has been introduced from class 3 onwards. So it is very heartening to know that some of the schools have introduced in a much lower level. So I think we are moving on. The country is moving on and catching up. So next, I would like to invite Mr. Ranjan Paul, Director, Institute of Management Studies. Over to Mr. Ranjan Paul.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. Thank you for inviting me to be part of the panel. My thoughts on AI are that, yes, there is a lot of things that are already happening, especially in the student services area. For example, managing the student recruitment funnel. We already do, there's a lot of implementation of AI, using AI-enabled chatbots to do the first level of screening, helping students pick up the right kind of course, and then passing it on to a live, person to kind of do the final thing. So there is a lot of scope in the student services area, right after the admission process and the post-admission process, evaluation of all the documents being submitted, managing and like I said, loans or managing payment systems. That's already happening, and I think there's a lot of growth possibilities in that area. The other area that possibly can benefit from AI in the higher education is the research sector, which I think in India we are not very strong at the moment. But AI definitely can help in terms of making a lot of resources available, making a lot of infrastructure possible, accessible possible without really investing in the uh, physical infrastructure that we require in many of the places. The other area which I'm not very sure of, and which is I read a lot about it, is one of the most time-consuming areas for a faculty or a teacher in the higher ed is the assessment part of it, grading a paper and kind of things. A lot of people are suggesting the role of AI in the grading system. Uh, Honestly, I'm not very sure how that is going to work, though already there are tools available for essay grading and things like that. But to my mind, I feel that we're still not ready for that as yet. But on the other part of it, which is the normal assessments like level of achieving a certain course, for example, as Dr. Dhawan was saying, if I complete one level one, what is my success rate and what should be the level two? What should be the difficulty of the level two? Yes, that kind of assessment definitely AI has a huge role to play and can be a kind of a game changer in the entire process. Uh, in terms of choosing the right courses, as Dr. Dhawan also already has pointed out, yes, there is a lot of scope which AI plays here in terms of creating the selection process or making choices available to students based on the background of the student, the kind of journey the student has had so far. And also, AI can play a huge role in campus management, creating digital connect across the campus, creating access to information, uh, building in a secured campus environment. So AI can play a lot of role in that. So four areas as far as I'm concerned: student services, which student management, that is the recruitment and the process of move collection of fees or managing loans, etc. The second is of course, the academic research area where AI can definitely play a big role. In the connected campus, where again AI has a role as of today. The fourth area, which, as I mentioned, I'm not still kind of looking at it and still not very sure what the role of AI is going to be, is the teaching and learning environment, especially in the more higher education, more specialized subjects, where, except in asynchronous learning, where definitely these AI tools can definitely be a big help. That's my take as of now. Thank you, Dr. Bhattacharya.
Ranjan, for giving your perspective, and you were right, bang on, and you resonated my initial thoughts of the maturity assessment model, which I spoke of 5 dimensions. You covered 4. So I once again repeat: intelligent tutoring system, which is adaptive learning to go forward on phygital mode. Then the education management information systems or campus management information systems. Then research-based learning, which everybody has talked about. Then the degree of automation, how much you want to automate. And then fifth, last but not the least, is trust, which has IT security, transparency, privacy, and ethics. And as all my colleagues may be knowing, that there are over 4,500 tools declared by the Ministry of Education currently in the Indian market till February. Currently, today they must be much more. So I would urge all of you to expose your students to check them out and find out what is best for your campus. And we are there to do an assessment model. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Kakoli Sen, professor, author, and researcher. Over to Dr. Kakoli.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bhattacharya, and happy to be here on the panel. So I'm in between jobs, so that is why my affiliation says professor, researcher, author, which of course I will remain in any case. So very happy to join this panel today on a very important topic of artificial intelligence and how we are going to use it in the academia or higher education industry. Of course, primary K-12 as well. So I heard Dr. Vikas and Dr. Hari also, and Dr. Professor Ranjan Paul. My ideas kind of resonate with Dr. Paul quite a bit, that I feel Currently, we are at the cusp of implementing AI. It is something, it takes me like 20 years back when the computers were just coming in, the internet was just coming in, and all of us were wanting to take up that and use it in any which way. Some of the things were changed because of the computers and internet, and some things remained as it is. So I feel that with artificial intelligence coming in, it every single work that we do, every single area, if we are talking about education, whether it is the student recruitment or admission, whether it is the faculty recruitment or faculty development or talent management, or assessments, or staff training, or alumni relationship building, or entire stakeholder management, each of these, whatever we are doing, artificial intelligence will help us do it even better. It is up to us, how do we use it, where do we want to use it, and how much do we want to use it. So, when we are talking about using AI tools, as Dr. Paul also mentioned, that yes, if there are some MCQ based kind of assessments, or there are some level testing kind of assessments, yes, AI will definitely help us. But when we are looking at creative thinking or reflective skills or analytical skills, I think the faculty members will still hold a lot of ground there. According to me, artificial intelligence is definitely not going to replace the teachers. If some teachers think that way, it is only going to make whatever we are doing better, more effective, and more rewarding. When we talk about, I think Dr. Vikas also said that it is going to make education more inclusive. Absolutely. While it will tell us which student is learning in which way, how much of he or she is able to retain it and be able to use it to further his or her knowledge or application of that knowledge, a teacher's role will become very important in assessing that, identifying where are the gaps, and accordingly dealing with the student. Similarly, for any kind of recruitment or placement processes, there are certain students who go through any interview and they are able to crack it, whereas certain others go through endless number of interviews yet don't crack it. So those iterations, what kind of iterations need to come in, AI should be able to help us with that. So as teachers, as administrators, if we could identify, just like we have analytics, HR analytics or sales analytics, business analytics, which helps us take decisions. But to be able to make decisions, we need to know what do we want to make decisions about. So those metrics become very important. Similarly, I feel in academics, when we are trying to use artificial intelligence, we will need to bring in that what are the metrics that we want to improve on. I'm sure during COVID, I mean, that's a worldwide phenomena that has happened. Students were attending the classes but keeping their videos switched off. It was, teachers were struggling to be able to do an interactive class, or, come students to come out of whatever they wanted to ask. And there was no way of knowing whether the student is there or not, except, of course, the proctored examinations, etc. So I think, in my opinion, we should be using artificial intelligence. We should be assessing whatever we are doing, evaluating whatever our area of work, which is mainly, 3-4 areas, which is teaching. How do we improve our quality of teaching using artificial intelligence? How do we reduce the repetitive work? Second is the administration, which is where the repetition of work needs to be looked at and reduced as much as possible with more efficiency. And the third is research, which, of course, most of my co-speakers have already spoken about. Research is something that we need to focus on, and how artificial intelligence is going to help us with that. We need to work on that. I think Dr. Hari Krishna mentioned about that, there is more emphasis on STEM. And then he also talked about that within STEM, it is more of, computers, or, computer science. There's more focus there. I would say that I think the focus is also from STEM to STEAM, which is on the arts and humanities also, and it should remain so. Our education should not get guided by only what is currently working in the job market, but also based on the student's personal interest. If we are able to cater to that interest and are able to develop that race towards, whichever jobs are available today may not be available 10 years, 20 years later, students are able to build on their interest and take education as a way of increasing their knowledge and be able to apply it, adding their own wisdom. So that is my take on this, Dr. Bhattacharya. I hope I was within time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kakoli, for your insights, valuable insights. The main takeaways were AI will definitely not replace teachers. It is a tool to basically facilitate education. Teaching quality will improve, repetitive work will reduce, administration quality will improve, and research will improve. Next, we move on to Dr. Bhanu Pratap Singh, Vice Chancellor, Maharishi University of Information Technology. Over to Dr. Singh.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to be part of this wonderful gathering. Maximum things are already put on board by learned speakers. But even then, I want to put my views as the things are going on. In last 2.5 years, after the post-pandemic conditions, we have seen the online education system in the India or abroad is already existence is much more, but India is very much more in practice. So without online education, it is a time as per the UGC guidelines. There is a scenario of 70 to 30% of education for the it can be on the part of a MOOC courses, Swamprabha channels, just like that here, NPTEL lecture series. So there are a number of platforms. But when we go from the side of online education system, there is a need of AI as the things are moving very fast. And we are talking about on the Indian perspective point of view, we are talking about the globalization of education. In that part, if we are not adopt the AI in our education system, it will affect much more in the future scenario. Because if we see a business today, research by 2024, 47% of the learning management tool will be AI enabled. Apart from that, if we talk about the global education system, they are much more doing even earlier, even then after the post-pandemic. If we talk about the Open University of UK, they have generated an automated feedback and grading system. In this intelligent linguistic analysis tool used in real time to analyze text in essay and generate automated feedback. If we talk about the University of California, San Francisco, in that part, a professor developed a intelligent tutoring system. They developed a MOOC course as an adaptive intelligent tutoring system for the EDX platform. Next, if we talk about the Arab University of Kuwait, they have developed a learning analytics. In that, objective is to that the retention of the number of students. They are using a IBM Watson analytics to improve the student retention and identify student at risk of dropping out. By identifying at-risk student, the dashboard act as an early alert system and take corrective action and targeted initiative to the help struggling student get back on the track for success. There are a number of many more universities, just like a Deccan University, student supporting system they are using with the help of IBM Watson platform, allow students to ask questions about the admission, enrollment, tuitions, fees, financial assistance, student housing, extracurricular, skill development. There are a number of supporting system on the part of student teaching, on the part of student supporting, on the part of student teacher supporting, on the part of system supporting. So there are a number of tools, number of platforms are adopting, university are adopting the AI based education system, especially in the higher education. If we discuss about the platform or a globalization of education on the perspective of the Indian education system, we are talking about the dual degree, we are talking about the twin degree. In that part, or in that number of courses we have to go, we have to opt for the online part. It is a very much requirement, necessity in our higher education system. We have to adopt, we have to go step by step as per the requirement of the system, requirement of the university, or the requirement of the student part. So we have to think about that, because without, if we are not adopting the AI in our education system, globally we cannot put, or we cannot perform very well, because number of online education system can be inbuilt in our globalization of education, if we talk about the twin degree or dual degree. So there are number of such type of another facility are available. They are using adaptive group formation system in a university in Spain, virtual agent, virtual reality, personalized adaptive learning, online proctoring. So there are a number of tools, they are based on the online education system. So we have to opt on time to time, we have to think about that, because the sustain or retainability without the AI in our future of education on a part of a globalization or online education, there is a need of the demand. I think so. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. BP Singh, for giving your perspective and emphasizing on the requirement of AI as not only a requirement, but a necessity of AI in the higher education system of the country. Now, I have gone through one round of a discussion with all the delegates. I would like to now throw open for a perspective of using smart content, proctoring exam, and virtual facilitator. If anybody would like to respond on how these things are working in their in their campus, or they're planning to implement it shortly in their campus. Anybody would like to answer on these three aspects of smart content, proctored exam, and virtual facilitator using AI? Over to anybody who would like to respond on these three aspects.
Mr.
Is happening in the, yes.
I would like to know what
Please go ahead, Dr. Dhawan.
I would like to know what you mean to say by smart content.
Smart content is basically intelligent tutoring system that is based, which is called as personalized learning. So is it happening in your campus? If yes, which tool you are using? And if no, what is your plan of your campus going forward?
See, proctoring tools, we have used it to a good extent during COVID time, and probably we being a medical health science centric university, we have been offline throughout COVID also. But yes, for other courses like engineering, management, law, etc., we went for proctoring tools. We have been using it efficiently, and I think they can be used whether there's COVID or no COVID. We'll be using it for certain tests, certain psychometric tests also. Then, as far as I would like to contribute to the first question also, augmented reality is something which will be the future. I never said it before because I wanted to listen to the other speakers what their view is. But being a technology-driven person, and me, emphasizing on using of digitalization, digital contents, technology to a larger extent to study the psychology of a child. Like you told that the smarter systems, I have already told that one of our scholars is doing PhD on, psychology of students who are playing games. So we are trying to go to that extent with our behavior science department being one of the excellent ones in the NCR. So a lot of research we are doing upon the psychology using AI tools. The augmented reality, I want to brief up the viewers because to be honest, I'm fond of reading articles. In 2024, Apple is planning to give you a very smart spectacle whereby you can access any information on Earth using those goggles, those spectacles that you have, and it will be, clubbed with your iPhone, and then you can use those specs, and then you can almost study everything. So, if we say that technology won't be a part of education, a normal educator will be teaching in a class, and the child will be accessing the entire information in his specs, and he will be pointing out, sir, you are wrong here, and probably you have not explained these things properly. So that will be the height at which the educators will have to raise their level. Teaching is going to be real difficult in near future. Let me tell you honestly. The people who will be staying out of technology, or they are of old school of thought, saying that why I should adopt digitalization, why I should adopt technology. Let me clear you up. They will be out of the market. With these edge tech companies, throwing in the technology and using the technology to a larger extent, whereby the entire cycle of the completion of the course, the child can see his progress anytime. He can, access the questions anytime, repeat the questions, but just his thought that yes, what things he did wrong and how you can improve his learning methodology will be there. And to be honest, in next 5 years, you will have books. You will open it up, and with augmented reality, you'll be able to see the entire third world war of sorry, the third or first or second war, whatever you want to see, the Panipat, how they fought and how things were there. Nobody will be reading it. They will be actually seeing it and learning it. That will be the height to which you will see the content. And probably simulation has already started. I was in one of the forums like yours, and one person was debating that, Mr. Dhawan, this cannot happen. This technology cannot go to that extent that it will replace the tutors. Let me tell you, it will actually replace the tutors, the educators, because when the tools like this, like smart spectacles, you are accessing Google in your eyes, and the teacher is teaching a class, how can you compete with it? If it is a student who is actually driven, who has a thirst of learning, he'll be running far ahead of you. The history says that Shankaracharya attained the entire knowledge at the age of 17, and he became the Jagat Guru. So you cannot expect your child. Their evolution is such that the next generation is always better than you. Now the time has come when the evolution is to that extent that the next generation is actually twice or thrice better than you. It is not a stage where the next generation is 10% or 5% better than you. He is lot better than you, because the things you were studying at higher education level, they are studying at class 1, class 2, class 3 level. The gadgets they are using, the response time, that if you check psychology, the response time has increased. The students, they're quite responsive in a way, who are using these kind of tools. They're so fast, thick and fast, that they can respond within milliseconds. They can solve questions at a very fast level. Then simulation, let me give you a very beautiful example. Nowadays the firefighters don't teach you with that diagram in the back and a stick. If a fire is here in this building and this is what you need to do, they use simulators. The professor will come and put a fire at one level, and he will ask the students, okay, now find the solution. How you are going to take all the crowd out of this building, and what are the ways you will be using. So what happens is, you are actually living that life at that time, and you are in that actual simulating environment. So the extent of learning is to that extent that a normal classroom cannot provide you. And such simulation tools are available in every trade. We happen to have the best simulation center in nursing in the entire country, and fourth in the world. And if you visit our SGT University, and if you visit the simulation center, you will learn that to the extent we are training the nurses, almost 50% of their education is
So, Dr. Dhawan, I think I should interrupt you because if 5 minutes are left, they'll switch us off from the meeting. So, can I have somebody else's perspective on virtual facilitator, which means that AI driven, let us say if somebody is stuck in maths, the AI will drive the personalized way to feed the student so that he is able to solve the problem. What is anybody else's perspective towards adopting such kind of a ed tech tool? Quick 5 minutes.
Should I help you out again?
I have not used a tool that you're talking about, but In your previous, you had 3 options. One was the proctored exams, AI proctored exams. So we did use. Sorry. Yes, we have used AI proctored examination. I'm sorry to say, but I'm not very satisfied with the integrity of the examinations. All right, I reason to believe that some of the exams were compromised. So I think there's a lot more to achieve in that part of the AI.
I think, Mr. Paul, I think you have to explore, because there are 4,500 plus EdTech tools which are there, and there are tools which ensure that proctored exams are done perfectly correctly without any kind of cheating happening.
Well,
So,
I
so
guess
these tools are already there. Those tools are already there. We need to explore.
Colleges have budgets, and you have limitations of how much you can explore. Anyway, I take your point. Thank you.
So anybody else has quick comments before we close, because we are hardly any time left. I think I'd like to call the organizer if there are any questions from the audience. At this point of time, we have 2 minutes here.
No, we still have a lot of time. We can continue.
Lot of time. Okay. So,
Yeah.
so anybody wants to contribute
So
more
yes,
on?
Bhattacharya wanted to comment.
Go ahead, Kakoli Senji.
Thank you. So in terms of the content creation that you talked about, smart, intelligent content, I wanted to share that, tutor's role, of course, what Dr. Vikas had mentioned, that is where we are probably going to be soon. But till the time we reach, I think the teachers still need to evolve. Currently, also teachers teach from what is static content, and some of them use a bit of dynamic content, but a teacher's role essentially should not be one of sharing information, because our student, as Dr. Dhawan rightly said, the students can access all that information much faster than a teacher can. So I think the teacher's role should not be to share any information. That is not required. In the classroom, when a student comes to the classroom, he or she must come for the experience and not just for the information, which is available to him at the click of a button anywhere. So if the teachers bring in that wisdom, and not just the information, but bring in the knowledge to be able to develop that wisdom, to share, to use that information that they are getting, there can be an information overload also. So when you are looking for information, there is just too much information there. Which information is correct, which information is applicable, where and how, that should become gradually the role of the teacher, where they are able to explain, they're able to take them together and show. Otherwise, these developments, even I remember when there was a time when we used to read only from books. Then the models came in where you could feel them and see, particularly the human body models. Those you could see exactly where they're happening. Then the 3D books came into place, where you could actually things popped out and you could see where they are placed and all of that. So there is definitely an improvement, and it will keep on improving. So the teacher, when we are developing, I still see a lot of teachers develop their course curriculums as unit 1, unit 2, unit 3, and very bookish and very static kind of a knowledge. That information sharing is going to become redundant, if not tomorrow, almost yesterday. So that content has to be in a way where the students are the teacher's role when developing the course content should be more of a curation of that knowledge, so that you get the right kind of information from the right sources and then put them together and then discuss in the class, rather than the jug and the mug method. You have to discuss that in the class as a teacher and take the role of a learner or a facilitator. You are not always the teacher. As Dr. Dhawan also said, the students are way ahead of getting this information. So our role should be able to analyze that information, be able to understand what is required, what happens if this happens. That critical thinking approach has to be brought in. So I think in content development, there is a lot of scope for teachers. And I think teachers would need to be intelligent and wise to be able to adapt it in the best manner possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sen. Actually, you brought in the concept of flipped classroom approach, which is becoming the order of the day for higher education institutes, where the students are left with this content to go back in their offline, basically go and learn from other sources and come back in the class for discussions where the teacher acts as a facilitator. It is called as a flipped classroom approach. So our next question I'd like to ask Dr. Hari Krishna Maram on how do you think that AI is going to help in improving the gross enrollment ratio of the higher education system of the country? How AI is going to help in improving the gross enrollment ratio?
I think it is a very valuable question, sir. Today, when we talk about AI, implementing AI across higher education or primary education, if we talk about the reality today, the India AI investment in as of now is only 2.5% on the total global whatever people are spending. That means we are not even though we are India is the world's second largest hub in training and developing in AI, but still we are not up to the mark with the global trend. And today, on Thursday, there is a report which I was talking, released by NASCOM. That report is called AI Adoption Index. So what is this AI Adoption Index is talking is more about firms increasingly depending on reskilling and upskilling to meet the demand of AI professionals. So now, when we talk about gross enrollment ratio of higher education, I think definitely today we are our GER is a very low compared than even neighboring countries, even a smaller countries. So I think AI definitely going to help, because the national education policy is mainly focusing not only degrees, we are focusing more on the skill development. So I think we, as an organization, Vision Digital India with Imperial College, we recently collaborated and launched one of the world's largest skill development project with the Niti Aayog. This is called GDKP. So what this GDKP, to tell you in a few words, is normally any country economy is calculated using the GDP. So there is a professor called Professor Umberto Salpaso, who is a professor at California State University at Los Angeles. He heads the future digital learning. He's a senior fellow. He developed a model called GDKP, where adding K into the GDP, K is nothing but a knowledge. So you can improve the GDP. So that can be possible only by providing the skills. That too, we are talking about the digital skills. So AI plays a very important role in this, because there is a huge market, job market. There is a need of AI implementation in every sector, not only the large companies, even smaller companies, medium MSMEs can able to use and get a benefit. Today, when we talk about even booking a ticket at Make My Trip, or even a browsing at a Google, so AI plays very important role to identify what exactly we are doing and tracking each transaction and sending information and selling the products, selling the services. So I feel AI is the future. And when we are looking at reaching 5 trillion economy by 2025, this dream is everyone dream of 1.35 billion people of India. I think AI is going to play a very important role. I think what I'm able to hear from esteemed panel is every institution is now focusing on trying to implement AI in their curriculum, in their day-to-day activities. So that is a very good sign for a country like India, where we have more than 1,050 universities, 50,000 colleges, more than 2 million primary schools, with all together we have 470 million students. I think implementing AI, we will become a leader in the global market soon.
Thank you, Dr. Maram, for those bright side of AI that you are seeing. I'd like to speak to Dr. BP Singh now, his perspective of the virtual labs for bringing in AI in the space of vocational education. If you could reflect, give your thoughts.
Sir, in the virtual lab, yeah, the virtual lab, as we are discussing about the online education system on a part of higher education, MHRD are also focusing on different type of a mode of virtual education system by different institutions, just like IIT Roorkee is helping the number of virtual lab on a platform of MHRD. So we are increasing the day by day number of virtual labs. Different in scenario, if we discuss about the requirement in the online education or the post-pandemic conditions, each and every institution, as per my perspective, are using the virtual lab platform as a part of a maximum type of a lab that required in any laboratory system. We can say they are using the number of labs in that curriculum in a part of virtual lab, because virtual lab we are using to see the actual platform of every student, how they are working. Number of virtual lab are also developing in that scenario. Number of students are also adapt and also using the virtual lab in different modes. So the virtual lab, with the help of this, we cannot sustain in the future, because it is a requirement of a time, or in the formation of virtual lab there is a need of AI applications. So it is very necessary to use the virtual lab in our platform, or virtual type of anything, just like a online education system, virtual labs and virtual classroom, flip classroom. These are the requirement, these are the need of our education system. So we have to go with this, and we have to adapt. It may be on the institution level, it may be on the government level, or it may be any platform, but we have to develop a system for the virtual lab.
I think there is some issue with Dr. Bhattacharya's system. He might be joining us really soon. In the meanwhile, I think I would also like to talk about some important aspects. Especially with artificial intelligence is talking about. Uh, According to me, we have uh, more than 45,000, 50,000 odd careers in front of the students these days. And if you're looking at any individual counselor or a career counselor talking about those, it's really impossible. So there should be some tools dedicated for the counseling of the students, especially which career to pursue in further. So I think Brainwonders is doing a fantastic job out there. India's, I think, biggest psychometric assessments organization. Though they were our partners, they couldn't join us for this amazing session. But I think, without further ado, this was such a wonderful session. I don't think Dr. Bhattacharya will be joining. I think there is some technical fault with him. I would like to thank all you wonderful panelists for joining us with us for this amazing session. Uh, so I would like to thank Dr. Hari Krishna Maram sir for joining us, Dr. Vikas sir, Professor will be saying Ranjan sir, and Dr. Kakoli Sen ma'am for joining us for this amazing session. I think we have got really fair idea, and I think we've been talking about flipped classrooms not only in the higher education segment but also in the K-12 segment as well, and it has been a really, really popular concept for quite some time now. And I think it is the way forward ahead. Thank you so much for this amazing, amazing session, to all the wonderful panelists, and definitely to our moderator, Dr. Bhattacharya. Thank you for joining us, and to all the viewers, we'll be back next week joining us for the 12th episode of Talking Education series. We'll be discussing another important session with the K-12 segment sector. One another important topic on admissions with the school education as well. Stay tuned till then, and don't forget 8th of July. We are going to be live. We are going to witness more than 300 education institutions live from Delhi at Hotel Eros Nehru Place. You're most welcome to join us for that amazing event called Third Edu Leader Summit. Uh, and it's a pleasure hosting all these wonderful educators on our amazing humble platform. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day ahead. Have a good one. Thank you to all the speakers.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Gulati.
Thank you, Sandeep Gulati, for
Thank
bringing
you.
all of us here. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.